It's been a day of violent clashes between police and protesters in Nairobi and in other Kenyan cities as thousands took to the streets to mark the anniversary of deadly protests last year. Officers used tear gas and water cannons to disperse crowds. People have reportedly been killed and hundreds injured from bullet wounds. An estimated 11 people have been killed during nationwide protests that turned violent on Wednesday. The protest was to honor those killed in last year's anti-government rallies, but clashes broke out between police and protesters across the country. Lawyer and governance analyst Javas Bigambo said senior officials outlined guidelines for the protests and organizations notified the police of their intention to demonstrate. Well, we have roped in Dr. Westen Shilaho, an international relations expert. Dr. Shilaho, thank you so much for your time. So last year's anti-government protest resulted in more than 60 people, being killed, if not more, and scores others were wounded. This was meant to be a peaceful protest to honor those killed last year. With some organizations, we're understanding, notifying the police of their intention to demonstrate first, and yet there's more bloodshed. Your reaction to what's unfolding in many cities in Kenya?
Thank you so much for inviting me. The protests, just like the ones of last year, mask a bigger problem in Kenya about governance issues, about police killings, extrajudicial executions, about economic issues. Those young people are protesting against lack of opportunities, inequalities, poverty. So they are symptomatic of a whole host of problems underneath the Kenyan society, which the state is grappling to address. And therefore, it was expected that the protest would turn violent because the Kenyan police are usually trigger happy. And the protesters, according to the police, had notified them that they would have a peaceful procession to commemorate the death that were orchestrated by the police last year. But the protest turned violent. And the state is accusing the protesters of looting, arson, destruction of property, mayhem, which, according to the state, are acts that are inconsistent with the rule of law. Hence, the use of force to bring what the state defines as lawlessness under control.
So last year, of course, the protests faded after President William Ruto withdrew these proposed tax hikes. But public anger seemingly has remained. I mean, you speak of these systemic issues. Where do you think Ruto's administration is failing here, especially to root out some of those problems from a governance perspective?
Well, he hasn't covered himself in glory. Is corruption in government officials who are acting with impunity are not brought to justice. But these issues are not new. They were there before. So he inherited some of these problems and is grappling and trying to, have a handle on these problems. And therefore, even like last year, the finance bill, that unpopular finance bill, in itself also was indicative of massive problems within the Kenyan society about, the government revenue being used to service debt and nothing is left for development, hence the discontent. So Ruto is struggling, and truth be said, he's acting like his predecessors, whereby the political elite are completely detached from the interests of the citizenry. But he's also sorting out mess that has been there virtually throughout Kenya's post-colonial period. If you look at affordable housing, some of the projects he's come up with, healthcare, education, infrastructure, food security. These are pressing issues within the Kenyan society, which have been there long before he came into power.
Yeah, I want to just stay on what you said earlier on, in as far as the reported, police brutality that we are also seeing. We know, of course, that not too long ago, a number of people, including 3 police officers, were charged with murder over the killing of the 31-year-old blogger and teacher. All of them pleading not guilty, of course. What are we likely to see in this particular case as the pressure is mounting, as you've also alluded to William Ruto to act?
Well, yes, the speed with which these suspects were arraigned in court has got something to do with damage control, to assuage the anger as a result of runaway extrajudicial killings in Kenya, which have virtually defined Kenya's state post-colonial. But going by similar cases before, I don't foresee justice being served expeditiously. Such cases usually linger in the corridors of justice for quite a while. Some cases of this nature, which happened 10 or more years ago, are yet to be concluded. And therefore, I read a lot of, an attempt by the state to allay public disgruntlement as opposed to a genuine interest in affording justice to the family of the teacher blogger that you mentioned.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, though, Dr. Shilaho, for your time. Really do appreciate it. Of course, that is Dr. Westen Shilaho, an international relations expert, just talking about developments in Kenya.